All right, so coming up on the channel, I'm not sure how many videos this is going to take, but I don't think it's going to fit in just one. I'm going to go through how I built this mobile miter saw bench that has drawers for storage of tools and hardware, a small cabinet. It actually has a downdraft dust control in behind. It has this removable dust hood so that I can control where the dust is going. It has some storage on the sides and on the back for things that I can hang. It has this extendable extra bit of countertop. And yeah, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you how I built this. The inspiration for this came from, for some reason, probably because of Christmas, every hardware store started having these really, expensive metal boxes, basically this exact same size, but with drawers for tools. And I started to really like the idea of having something mobile that I could put my tools in. So of course I went to YouTube and I started seeing all these just amazing builds by these, professional, semi-professional carpenters. A lot of people with, dedicated wood shops will show you their gorgeous builds for how they've done something like this. I am not a professional. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking, hey, Gord, this isn't straight, one of these drawers sticks out a little bit, the answer is, yes, I know. This video is not meant to show off that I'm the best carpenter in the world. My hope is this video might inspire some of you, weekend warriors, hack carpenters. I consider myself a complete hack at any of this stuff, but this is functional. It's completely functional. It's not the prettiest thing, although I actually kind of like its kind of rugged look. To me, that just actually, I feel like that's what a workshop should look like. So none of this is finished particularly well. A lot of this is made out of scrap that I had. A lot of it's just the bare wood that's completely unfinished, but it's 100% functional. So if you've seen some of those videos where people do gorgeous builds and you felt intimidated, this is the video for you to show you that, you can build something that's not perfect. You can build something that's not gorgeous, and you can build something that's 100% functional. So let's get into how I built this. All right, so for the main kind of cabinet that everything sits inside, I'm using 3/4 inch plywood. And we're going to build what's known as a carcass. So the idea is we're just going to build a box, in this case, missing two sides. So the dimensions, I'm going to make it 4 feet wide and 2 feet deep. 4 feet wide mainly because that's the size of a piece of plywood, 2 feet deep because that's half the size of a piece of plywood. And then mine's going to be 30 7/8 inches tall. This is because the casters that I bought happen to, when you add that together, that makes it 36 inches tall in total, which is, the height of a kitchen counter. So the idea then is just to cut the back, the bottom, and the two sides, and then the front and the top will be open for the time being. Okay, so this is for a clamp, I think they call it edge mate. I'll put a link in the description. I have one that's 100 inches long, so actually I can extend it out basically twice this length. But what you've got here is basically a fence that you can use, right? So we're going to use it just as the edge for, the size we want. Right, so everything on that side is what we want to keep. And so what I'm going to do is we're just going to use a cheap Ryobi circular saw to make this cut. So I know that the distance kind of from the blade to this kind of protecting edge thing here is 1.5 inches. So the next thing we need to do, so this is, I don't know if you can see it, but the line that we want to cut is here. What we're going to do is we're going to measure out 1.5 inches because then that will give us the line that we can follow with this. So it really helps to have a square. So I've already drawn the cut line we want, and we need to go 1.5 out from that. So obviously the length that you're cutting this is going to depend maybe on your casters. The length that you might cut is going to maybe depend on your saw, So for me, it's 1.5 inches. And then this is currently at 4 feet, which is the width of a sheet of plywood, and you just line it up with those 1-inch markers that we just made. and clamp it into place. And what you've got now is a fence for your circular saw. You know? So there's obviously lots of ways to get a straight cut, and I think it's kind of a good way to make a cut for a DIYer of this size. I'm not going to show you all the cuts. Like I said, I'm going to sort of assume if you're watching this video, you have some way of cutting wood. Now when we run this across, we get a pretty straight cut with, you know, $100 worth of tools rather than, you know, whatever a good table saw is worth. So obviously if you have a table saw, you're going to get a straighter cut. The better the table saw, the straighter the cut. But if you don't, like I said, this is a nice way to make a long straight cut with this sort of clamp-on fence guard and whatever circular saw you happen to have. All right, so let's go on to get this thing assembled. All right, and we're going to use a Craig pocket jig to put pocket holes in this to make it, to make the cabinet. So this is one of the sides of the cabinet. I think, I mean, you don't need to get the Craig brand clamp. Honestly, you can do this without the clamp, but it's quite a bit easier with the clamp. I mean, my guess is that together, if you don't already have something like this, this will run you 60, 70 bucks. I'll put a link down in the description. Who knows with prices these days. The idea then is you can adjust this to whatever the thickness of your wood, right? So this is 3/4 inch plywood. We can clamp it on, and then what we can do is just drill into it. It comes with this drill bit. Adjust it also to 3/4. The thing it comes with. And then when we drill into here, you get a perfect little pocket hole that you can use to connect stuff. So we're going to connect it that way, and I'll run some screws up inside too. Really nice, strong connection. All right, so yeah, here's the idea. We've got the pocket holes. These are 1 1/4 inch deck screws. They're like nicely countersunk. And I'm just going to get this as square as I can. For the time being. This is a DIY cabinet. We're not, you know, hanging this in the kitchen. Good. And then we can do the other side. All right, like I said, you can see this is some scrap I've had lying around. So this is from sprickets hanging out on the back of this. But I'm going to put, so I put 3 of the pocket ones on the inside, and we're going to put 4 countersunk ones through the bottom. Basically bracketing our 3 and these are 2-inch screws. And we'll do this on both sides. Alright, so I just wanted to show you this. If you're following me, the back piece, I've just got it inset right now. That's going to add a lot of structure to these. should be 30 and 7/8, right? So that we end up with counter height after the casters go on the bottom. And then it should be, right, so this is just the length of a 4x8 sheet, right? So it's 4 feet wide, but we got to take off 1.5 inches, right? So instead of being 48 inches wide, it is 46.5 inches wide, so that it fits down inside. And I just wanted to show you this because this is the piece that I cut using the fence and the circular saw, and you know, it's pretty much probably close enough. But I don't know if you can see on the camera, it's off by like, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch on this side. So I'm just going to use this again to mark how much it's off by. So I got a nice square fit. So you can see it's, you know, it's perfect on that side, and it's off by 1/4, 1/8 of an inch, somewhere between that here, and it's kind of running in an angle. So just by basically running this between those two things and marking a line, I'm just going to pull this back and use the circular saw, you know, cut it off by eye. I'm not going to show you that, but like I said, you can get a pretty straight cut without a table saw using this funny little fence, but it's not perfect, but you can always kind of adjust as you go along. All right, so here it is with the back attached. Again, I've got the pocket holes on the inside and countersunk on the outside. So you can see this is super strong. It's not going anywhere. Remember that the casters are going to add like 5 1/4 inches, right? So at the end, this is going to be the height of, you know, a kitchen counter. All right, like any good YouTuber, I lost some of the footage. The next step that I did was attach the casters. So what you're looking at here is a still image kind of with the cabinet upside down and looking up at the bottom. And so, you know, attaching the casters is pretty easy. You use a pencil, you know, put the casters where you want them. I think in this case I measured 1/2 inch in from every side. Use a pencil to mark, you know, where the holes go. You can see I drilled 2 sets of holes. So the inner one is just the, you know, diameter of the bolt, and then I used a Forstner bit to kind of be able to countersink these with washers. So with that setup, we can go into the footage that I still have. All right, so there we go. This is just one of them. 4 spots where the screws can go in, a little bit countersunk. They can go in like this. So when we go around to the top, so here we are back on top with the bolts and the screws underneath. We can now bolt this in, and you know, they're a little bit cleaner on the inside without the bolts sticking through. And I'll tighten these, obviously, with a wrench. Off camera, I mean, I'm assuming people watching a video like this can tighten a bolt without watching me do it. So here's where we're at. We basically got bottom and the back and the sides and the casters on. So this is currently a little more than 36 inches high, which is, you know, that's the height of my kitchen cabinets, right? So this is a nice height that I'm used to working on. Mobile, but we've also got the brakes so that we can hold this thing in place if we want. So now, yeah, we can start building in drawers, and I think I'm going to put the miter saw in this one. Okay, so I've decided that I'm going to put my table saw into this cabinet. So my table saw is about 20 inches wide. And so what we're going to do is this piece here is going to kind of go in, and it's going to go in and it's going to divide you know, where the table saw is from the other side, but also it's going to serve as kind of a division for the drawers that are only going to be, you know, roughly half the width. So this piece is, right, the sides, if you remember, are 20 inches. So this has to be 19 1/4, right, because it's got the back here, whereas my sides were lined up on the back. So my table saw is about 20 inches wide. It's actually a little less than that, but that's okay. So what we're going to do then is, so if you're doing this, right, your table saw dimensions are going to matter. So mine's like 19 and a bit, but I'm going to make this little kind of shelf for it 20 inches. Right, so this now is the line. We can do the same at the top. Yeah, so there we go. So this is going to be 20 inches and this will just be the rest. So this side's going to be slightly wider. Right, so remember the whole top. It's 48, right? So we're going to have a 20-inch kind of side and a 28-inch on the other side. So I'm just going to put screws along the sides and the bottom and fix this in place. All right, so I'm going to make a top. I decided out of this countertop I actually got salvaged from the garbage. It's been in my garage for a long time and sort of my workbench out there. But I realized I'm hoping to get a new garage and then this will just probably go away with the demo. And so I've cut the piece that's going to fit down inside to hold the miter saw. But we can just put it up here right now just to kind of guide us. So if you remember, it's going to be down on the bottom here, and you want the miter saw to be lowered so that this can kind of extend the cutting deck. And so mine is 3.5 inches tall, right? So I need to go 3.5 inches down from the countertop so that it's all flush, and then the top of the piece will be lowered down to here so that when I have countertop here and countertop here, the miter saw can fit down inside, and then I can cut across. So, with that off, right, the thickness of that means I need to go 2.25 down. So 2.25 down all these sides, so you can measure that however it makes sense. I'm actually going to measure it on the outside so I can drill holes a little more easily. So, you know, this is DIY. I'm not exactly a master carpenter. So I think what I'm going to try to do is kind of rough fit this. So I'm just putting a few screws into this so I can rough fit this and really make sure, right, because this is going to be the miter saw kind of deck. It's pretty important that it's straight with the rest of the shelf to get good cuts, right? So what I'm doing here is basically just making a crappy little shelf because I don't have a second pair of hands. I don't really own a clamp that could do this for me. I suspect that such clamps exist. So the idea is, yeah, these 4 screws are temporary. Just to be a second pair of hands, really. See if this holds. I suspect if it does, you'll be watching this in the video. Yeah, so here we go. That's the idea. This will hopefully hold it in place. Let me get it straight and level so that it, yeah, so I can get good miter cuts. Let's get this attached at least in one spot. that is perfect. This is a little high. So this corner's a little high. So just like the back, we're gonna kind of lean on it, get it low enough. Much better. All right, now I'm just gonna add a bunch more screws for make sure this thing stays where it belongs. Good, that's not going anywhere. And if anyone's keeping score, these are just number 7 2-inch general purpose screws. I use them for a lot of stuff. Like that box says, they're general purpose. Alright, so here's the miter saw in place. It fits perfectly. Like I said, depending on your saw, you know, you're going to have to make this shelf a different size. But yeah, this is my idea. And then when the next one comes on here, it should be level with this so that I can cut across. So yeah, this is miter saw in place. And it has screws, so you can kind of screw it down. But I'm going to hold off on that until I get the rest of the counter in place. Alright, so I am going to attach this surface with pocket holes. So I think, like I said, I sort of played with pocket holes on the sides here. It's kind of a new tool for me. They're definitely not useful or necessary with plywood like this, but I think in this case, for attaching the countertop, it's going to be perfect, and there's not going to be, you know, obvious holes. So, pocket holes. Alright, so pocket holes are in. Got the top kind of rough fit. There are some gaps, you know, so the cuts with the circular saw are not perfectly straight. This is not, you know, like a master woodworking video. So I'm not too worried about gaps like this. We can fill those in with something later. What does matter though is that we have all of this level and straight. Yeah, and you can see that it's pretty good. So basically there's just a dip in the cut here, but it's actually pretty good at the back. So I'm going to go ahead and affix this around this way so that I don't pull down this corner, and I'm going to keep an eye on, you know, keeping these parallel as I go around. All right, so the top is affixed. You can already see I'm making use of having a bit of bench space. I'm going to go ahead now and secure the saw to that. So to do that, I'm just using some washers and some wood screws. I might upgrade this to bolts in the future, but I think for the time being, this is going to work just fine, and then I don't have to come at them from underneath if I ever want to take this off or something else. So the washers are going to help make sure this gets held in place. And it's pretty wedged in there anyway, so I think this is going to work just fine. All right, so I am making progress. I've got the bench in lowered for the miter saw, the bench in on the other side level with the miter saw, and I cut this teeny tiny little piece here so that I can have, yeah, we're gonna basically put the same material that I'm using as the bench, just a little bit of trim around here and around there, maybe to clean it up a little bit, but just so that it looks okay. So my current thinking is this comes out 2.5 inches from the deck here, so we can do the same. And I've already made sure off camera that this is level with here. And so this is such a thin piece. It's basically the thickness of plywood, of my 3/4 inch plywood. I'm actually going to glue it down and then use some brad nails, because the first piece I tried split from the nails. My hope is that if I glue it down, I haven't used any glue on this project yet, that yeah, any splits should be taken care of. So make sure this is 2.5 so that it's kind of level with the front. And I make sure that it's as flush as it can be with the side here. And then I'm going to put a pin just to hold it in place while it glues. Yeah, see, it already split. All right, that did not go to plan, but you can go ahead and assume that if I left this in the video, that this held. So this piece of trim, super narrow, it's not going to accept any screws or any finishing nails, apparently. So we're just going to clamp it. Perfect. And then, yeah, I'm just going to glue this down as well. Oh, and hopefully this back one doesn't split when I put the finish nails into it. Good. All right, so it's not particularly easy to get a good angle on this, but you can see here is the bench, and now I'm going to come around to the front after this clip. Here's the piece on the back. This really is just a piece of trim, so I'm probably going to fill this in with some wood filler here, but this doesn't need to be level or anything. This is kind of just a piece of trim. And then over there, you can see the clamps of that narrow piece that I installed that is as wide as my 3/4 inch plywood. So yeah, a little bit less than 3/4 of an inch, probably. If we go down to the front, here's kind of what it looks like, right? So I've got the bench on this side, the miter saw lowered by the height of the thing. And actually this screw has come loose, so I've got a little bit of leveling work to do that you might be able to see here. This can go back. Here's all the clamps holding on this really thin piece on the side. My plan, I've got one more sort of chunk, this countertop. So my plan is to have this piece on a folding kind of arm thing. All right, this video is already getting kind of long, so I think I'm going to stop it there. Part one, we've got the whole carcass in place, the countertop, and everything is ready now to start putting on the accessories, the drawers, the cabinets, and all that. So stay tuned and check out part two of my video if you want to see how that all came together. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.